We talk about power all the time, but what is it really? Who has it, and how does it actually work? Well, today we're going to unpack the whole idea of political power by looking at it through four totally different and honestly mind-bending lenses.
So here's our roadmap. We're going to start with a simple baseline definition of power. Then we'll explore the liberal view, the Marxist view, the feminist view, and finally, the postmodern view. And trust me, you're going to want to stick around to the end, because seeing how they all fit together is where the magic happens. I mean, this is the question, isn't it? The one that's behind pretty much all of politics. Who has the power? The answer, as we're about to find out, is way more complicated and way more interesting than you might think.
Okay, let's get right into it. Before we can start juggling all these different theories, we need to be on the same page. We need a solid starting point.
For most of us, this is probably what comes to mind. Power is the ability to get someone to do something, right? Whether that's through official authority, money, or just plain old force. It's a simple, straightforward definition. But, and this is a big but, this is only the tip of the iceberg. So, let's add our first layer with our first lens, the liberal view. And for thinkers in this camp, power is something that's absolutely necessary, but also incredibly dangerous. The core idea here is that power isn't just taken by force, it's given. It comes from the people, the consent of the governed. And because people give it, the number one priority is making sure it doesn't get out of control and become tyranny. The solution? Things we're all familiar with. Constitutions, checks and balances, the rule of law. These are all just mechanisms designed to keep the state on a very tight leash. And this brings us to a really helpful metaphor. For the liberal view, think of power as a tool. You know, a hammer can build a beautiful house, but it can also smash it to pieces. The goal isn't to get rid of the hammer. It's to write a really clear instruction manual on how to use it safely.
Okay, but what if that whole idea is fundamentally flawed? What if power isn't some neutral tool that can be used for good or evil? Pondering that question drops us right into our second perspective, the Marxist view.
For Karl Marx, you can't understand power unless you first understand economics. He argued that society is split into two main classes. You've got the bourgeoisie, the owners, the people who own the factories, the land, all the stuff that makes stuff, and then you have the proletariat, the working class, the people who sell their labor to survive. And for Marx, this division isn't just about money. It's the most important power relationship in all of society. So from this viewpoint, power isn't based on consent. It flows directly from who owns the economy, and its main goal is super simple: to keep the ruling class on top. This is where the whole idea of government gets flipped on its head. The state, the laws, the courts, they're not neutral referees. No, they are instruments used to protect the interests of the dominant class. And that gives us a much sharper metaphor. If power is a tool for liberals, for Marxists, power is a weapon. It's something used by one class to actively control and exploit another. It's not neutral. It's inherently designed for conflict.
All right, so we've seen power as a tool of the state and as a weapon of a social class. But what if power operates in places that are much more personal, much more intimate? This is what pushes us beyond just government and economics and into our third lens, the feminist view.
Feminist theories argue that one of the most fundamental and oldest power structures is patriarchy. And that's basically a huge, sprawling system of social and cultural rules and norms that gives privilege to men and subordinates women. And this isn't about individual bad guys. It's a system that's baked into the cake of society. Now, what's so radical about this idea is where this power operates. It's not just in the halls of government or on the factory floor. It's everywhere. It's in the family, it's at the office, it's in the movies we watch. It works by quietly shaping our ideas about gender, what's considered normal or appropriate for men and women. So the metaphor has to evolve again. Power isn't just a tool or a weapon, it's an entire operating system. It's like the social software that's running in the background of our lives, dictating how we interact and what opportunities we get, often in ways we don't even consciously notice.
Now for our last view, and this one might just break your brain a little bit because it challenges everything we've talked about. What if power isn't a tool, or a weapon, or even a system that one group uses against another? What if power is something that nobody actually has?
This is the really wild idea from the postmodern thinker Michel Foucault. That famous line, "Power is everywhere," doesn't mean we're all super powerful. It means power isn't a thing you can find in one place, like with a king or a CEO. Instead, it's spread out, diffused, like a web that runs through every single social interaction.
So, how does that even work? Well, Foucault links power directly to knowledge in this cycle. First, power relationships, say between a doctor and a patient or a teacher and a student, produce what we accept as truth or normal. Then, that very idea of normal turns around and reinforces the power of the doctor or teacher who defined it. It's this perfect self-sustaining loop. So this brings us to our final metaphor. Power is a network. It's not something you can hold. It's this invisible, inescapable web of relationships that literally produces our reality, our identities, even our deepest sense of who we are. It's not just about saying no, it's also about producing the yes. It makes us who we are.
Whew! Okay, we have been on quite a journey. So let's take a step back and put all four of these lenses side by side, because that's when we can really see what a powerful toolkit we've just built.
When you see it all laid out like this, it just clicks, doesn't it? For liberals, power is located in the state, and the big problem is tyranny. For Marxists, it's all about the economy, and the problem is exploitation. For feminists, it's in our social institutions, and the issue is subordination. And for postmodernists, power is just everywhere, and the danger is how it defines what's normal. Each lens gives us a completely different place to look and a completely different problem to solve.
So in the end, the goal isn't to pick one of these and say that's the right one. The goal is to have all four lenses in your intellectual toolkit. The next time you're in a meeting or see a news story or even just have a family discussion, you can ask yourself, is this power acting like a tool, a weapon, a system, or is it an invisible network? Asking these questions is how we start to see the hidden forces that shape our world and our own lives. So the real question is, now that you have these lenses, what do you see?